What is driving my constant doing? And what would happen if I let something drop?
That to-do list could actually be some kind of a shield.
That's slowing down. You don't know what to do with yourself. You feel aimless. You're unproductive. You feel, oh my God, if I'm not doing something, I must be behind. And then that just adds more pressure to do more. Welcome back to Unapologetic Rabble-Rousers. I'm Doc Shellie.
And I'm Carla Lewis. So, Michelle.
So, Carla.
What do you think? Shall we tackle it?
Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. So, what are the chances anybody listening to this has ever wondered about an addiction to getting stuff done? Not just getting stuff done, just the doing of stuff.
The constant doing.
And I think it really does dovetail so well from our last episode, because it's about, okay, where is my identity really rooted? And if I'm finding that just not getting stuff done necessarily, it's really just in the doing. It's the act of being busy.
Mm-hmm.
And that busyness somehow translates into value, which contributes to worth, which means that I belong in the spotlight because look at all the stuff I'm doing. So what's really going on here? What would really be the challenge we could help people maybe voice for the first time, but also take a look at and say, what do we do about that? Because I'm pretty darn well practiced at it.
I would say that we could invite listeners to ask themselves as a theme, perhaps throughout the episode, of what is driving my constant doing? And what would happen if I let something drop?
I don't know why, but I just had this memory. My mom, she ran bridge clubs, the bridge game.
Oh, that's right.
The card bridge game. And she ran 2 different bridge clubs for decades in the Downriver area. And there was, as she was nearing what we now know was the end of her life, she was just beginning to feel really not put upon, but just really not up to being able to keep it going. And okay, she was in her 90s. All right. And she was still driving. We did driving tests at least twice a year. She insisted, and I'd go out with her and we'd make sure, but she was very independent. And it got to a point where she was saying, I really think I need to step aside from this. I don't want to stop playing bridge. I just don't think I can keep on doing this. So we talked about it, and it ended up, her greatest fear was that if she stopped doing it, nobody else would pick it up. I said, Mom, if everybody is engaged in this because you are doing it, and there's no interest in doing it if you're not doing it, then it's really probably okay to let it just stop. But you can't keep going on just because it might stop for other people. If they want to keep it going, they will.
They'll figure it out. Yeah.
Absolutely. But she was torn inside about saying, oh gosh, I don't want this to stop for them. She wanted it so badly because she could see the joy of these were extra senior citizens. And there was one 35-year-old man, lovely man, who was a part of it.
The story about him.
Oh my gosh. But this was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a part of another club. So it was like, I just don't know. It was like she was giving in. If she was giving in, that meant she was letting people down. If she was letting people down, then. And so she kept it going for a bit longer than she should have. And you know what happened? People stepped in.
Someone figured it out.
2 people stepped in to take over what this 90-plus-year-old woman had been doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, this just pulled that story back out from my heart that she was in such strife about, but what if?
Mhm.
And I wonder how many of us might get caught up in some stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That addiction to doing, it's not about efficiency. It's anxiety, often in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And her anxiety was, I don't want to let people down. I don't want this to end. They're going to be just so disappointed in me. That is anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so that addiction of, I have to keep doing this, I have to do, I got to do it all. It's not about being efficient. It's
No.
not about, I want to keep doing this. It is, I don't want to let other people down. I have stayed in relationships too long because I didn't want to disappoint somebody. I stayed in jobs too long because I didn't want to let my team down.
Mm.
I find out my entire team is like, I would have left if you left. But we do it. We stay, and sometimes we think we have to do it all for all the wrong reasons.
It,
Especially, I'm going to go to the high achieving women.
mm.
Doing it all often becomes an identity badge. And you kind of alluded to that. It's proof of our strength, our competence, our worth.
You know what? We're still standing strong. We're still standing tall with all of the crap that's been coming at us and doing whatever. We're still there. We're bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
And to the detriment of that self-care, we keep coming back to the detriment of those who love you and or depend on you for real. It's such a slippery slope.
And it's a big fat myth that many of us, not just women, but many people have internalized this belief that being busy equates to being valuable. And it's BS. It's a myth. It's not true.
You know, we talked about it with the notion that you had schedules that were impossible to break into because there was just like, and it was because you were very engaged in a lot of things. It wasn't about being busy. You
No,
were
I was having
out.
fun. I was living my life.
That's right. That's right.
It wasn't to keep anyone out. I wasn't avoiding anything. I remember I was dating someone at the time, and I said something about, you want to go out on Friday night? And he was like, yeah, but you'll have to wait for me because I have a euchre tournament. And I jokingly said, you want me to wait for you? And he was like, do you know how many times I've had to wait for you to finish volleyball, finish tennis, finish this, finish that? And I was like, dude, like, I was joking. Relax. And he was like, no, seriously, like, I wait for you all the time. I was like, okay, I got it.
We
But
won't joke about that.
right, but it did make me reflect on how he did wait for me a lot. It was, I was busy doing things I enjoyed doing, and I really was joking with him. Obviously, I was going to wait for him and to finish his tournament. It was just very unusual that I would have to wait for him to finish anything because he didn't really have that many hobbies or anything. So that was kind of
Interesting
funny.
how defensive he got so quickly about
Yeah,
that.
it was funny. That was a turning point in our relationship, but we don't need to go there.
Another episode. We'll come
Yeah,
back.
it's a whole different episode. But it was interesting to me how many people, and I said this in the last episode, would ask me, why do you keep yourself so busy? Like, because I'm having fun and I enjoy all the things that I'm doing. I still made time for rest. At the time, I didn't require very much sleep. So if I got 4 hours a night, it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so now I need about 6.
So when we're talking about this notion of doing, and I think we've begun to equate that to being busy. But I think the question ends up being, if I'm so busy doing, what is it I fear if I stop the doing? Even a little bit of the doing.
Yeah. And I think that's a good question. My brain first went to, what are the signs that we're addicted to doing it all, before we even get to that question.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that to-do list could actually be some kind of a shield.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think about people addicted to doing it all. You're never going to ask for help. You could be what a friend of mine used to say. She was in her up to her up to alligators in her arm. Her what is that
Up
saying?
to her armpits in
It's in
alligator.
alligators,
Yeah.
and she still wouldn't ask for help. You might volunteer for something, and you absolutely resent the fact that you volunteered for it. You become the fixer in every relationship at work and at home.
Mm.
Slowing down, to your point, that slowing down, you don't know what to do with yourself. You feel aimless. You're unproductive. You feel, oh my God, if I'm not doing something, I must be behind. And then that just adds more pressure to do more.
And I think it does tie back to what we talked about last episode with this notion of identity in terms of achievement.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's identity in terms of, look how busy I am. Or I want to make sure I've got my hand in every single one of these pots because I do not want to be on the outside of whatever might be going on. I think there's another component of that. There's almost a voyeuristic kind of vein through
Mm-hmm.
that. I just need to be involved in everything.
I have to know everything. I have to be involved.
I have to.
Because if I'm not, then I'm less than.
I'm less than.
I'm lazy. I'm selfish.
And if
I'm
not always involved, then I might be the subject of some of that crap.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about it. If you're not involved in all of the things that are going on in all of the circles and they're outliers, then you might be part of the parlor talk.
The first one to leave the table always gets talked about.
Right.
And I think there's probably some control issues too, right? If I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. How many people have I worked around that have said that?
Yeah. So if you're the one that's doing it all, you're the one that never drops the ball, you're the one that just keeps it all together and you do it with grace. Who carries you?
Mm-hmm.
And how often might we look around and find that we're actually being carried on the shoulders of other people who are there because they love us and they care for us and they're just trying to take care. And this, now we set into codependence on this whole notion of being addicted to doing and what it's robbing others of in trying to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that came from. I think I do. Codependence is something I'm familiar with.
Codependence was your trigger word.
Yeah. Mm.
If we think about how do we start to break that pattern of the being addicted to doing it all? For me, I think the big thing is challenging that story that you're telling yourself. What is it that you're afraid will happen if you stop doing the thing, whatever the thing is, or the things? For many people, it's more than one thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. What will happen if you stop doing it?
Who am I if I don't get to save the day?
Yeah. It's funny. We were just talking about that whole hero complex the other day. Is people, I have a couple coaching clients who like to be the hero. So they don't let their team members solve the problems. They want to get in there and solve it themselves. It's like, you don't have to be the hero. And it's the same thing here with this doing it all addiction. You don't have to be the hero. You don't have to save the day for everyone. I would encourage people who are addicted to doing it all is to redefine what rest looks like. Rest is good. Rest is powerful. Think about delegation. Well, a person addicted to doing it and thinking about delegating something, I'm pretty sure I just made people turn this off.
Got hives popping up all over Sirius and wherever else, right?
Yeah. And think about saying no. All of those things are signs of emotional maturity. They're not weakness. And I think a lot of people who are addicted to doing it all, think of those things as weakness.
And busy isn't proof. It's distraction.
Yeah.
So where are you in this?
I would challenge our listeners, for those who are addicted to doing it all, let something be undone. Just one thing. And guess what? You're going to notice the world did not stop revolving. The world has not ended.
So pick
We used to
carefully.
joke about that in the manufacturing world, right? Like we would like one thing, guess what? We're still producing cars.
Mm-hmm.
But really, seriously, think about just let one thing be undone for a day, for an hour. You want to get really crazy for a week and see what happens.
I just had this metaphor just flew into my head. People who are collecting all of these things to be busy with, it's a hoarding issue. And
Oh.
for a hoarder, being able to just, you need to let go of that one first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. It's a great exercise, but it's tough because it is the first step away from what has felt safe,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality has not been safe at all. But being able to just, it's like letting go of one, just one.
Mm-hmm.
Just try it. Go through the process of lamenting that this is something that I'm going to, I don't want to, but those unapologetic rabble-rousers told me I should. And so I'm going to try it.
Let's try it.
I'm going to try it because I think I trust them. I think I'm going to try it. And then just feel what that's like. Feel what it's like when you find out that it didn't really matter. Like you said, the world didn't stop.
The world didn't stop revolving.
Mm-mm.
The other thing I think that is interesting, people rely and expect your, I'll call it over functioning. They expect your addiction and they rely on that addiction of doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So when you stop doing it all, you're going to disappoint people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that intentionally and do it on purpose,
Yes.
not in a malicious way.
No.
Just be fully prepared that when you choose that one thing to stop, you choose that one thing to let go of, someone is probably going to notice it and be like, why didn't you do that? Maybe it's doing the dishes. And someone's like, what? You haven't done the dishes. What's going on? You disappointed me. It's your turn to do the dishes tonight. Even though you never do them the right way and you never load the dishwasher how I would do it.
Yeah, then there's that.
Guess what? The dishes are still going to get clean.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much that goes into just taking that first step and recognize whenever you make a change, there are people around you who are forced into a change that they had no choice in making. And recognize that there's some negotiation that comes along with that. Or you could just go
Absolutely.
ahead and throw it out there and see if anybody notices beside you.
Yeah.
So being able to just take a look around and make one choice, make a choice about just
One
letting
thing.
one thing off of your load.
I would just wrap up with, just because you can do it all does not mean you should. You are not here to be efficient. You are here to be a whole human being. And doing it all does not make you a whole human being. With that, I'm Doc Shelley.
And I'm Carla Lewis. Please let us know your thoughts on this and any of the other topics that we cover. We love the comments and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Just because you can do it all does not mean you should. You are not here to be efficient. You are here to be a whole human being. And doing it all does not make you a whole human being.